Welcome to the grind. Today we want to talk about working from home. Now, I've been working from home myself for about 7 years now, and I've developed some tips, some systems that might make your working from home that little bit easier. So let's get into it. Okay, so first up, let's talk about creating a space for you to work in. Now, the important thing about having a space is it's kind of switching your brain modes, right? So when you have a dedicated space for work, you tend to associate that with work. So when you sit down at it, you are there to work. You go from being at home mode to being at work mode. It's the super short version of the commute. Like, you would do the commute into the office, get into the office, say hey to everyone, get your coffee, sit down, you're at work. Same kind of thing. Now, the space doesn't necessarily have to be an office, because not everyone has a spare room that they can work in. It can be a kitchen table, it can be a work surface. Just make sure you separate this space from where you relax and chill. So like, if you have to work on the sofa, you can, and you can get good lap desks. Like, you go on Amazon or wherever, you can find some pretty cool lap desks. But if you have like a kitchen work surface or kitchen table, even better, setting that up as your workplace is better. And this is because you want to differentiate those two places. Like I was saying, you don't want to end up in that whole work life, home life being exactly the same thing, which is super hard when you're working from home. And it can either go one of two ways in that instance, where it can be you end up working all the time, or you end up working none of the time. Now, I can sometimes fall into the none of the time category, but that's another video for another day. You want to distinguish these two places. Like, you don't want to be sat on the sofa where you're gonna go after work working, because then there's no differentiation for your mind. It's like, again, it's like leaving work and coming home. You've left work mode. So separating those two spaces are super important. So the next thing I want to talk about is organizing your time. Now, when you're working from home, other than like Slack or Teams, there's not really anyone in the room with you who you're working with. There's no one kind of over your shoulder checking on what you're doing. So you can kind of lose track of what you're supposed to be doing kind of quick. Like, there's nobody just going, like, there's nobody in the room but also working on the same thing you are. So you're like, oh yeah, should be working on that. Things I found super useful: Google Calendar and a site called ClickUp. So let's discuss Google Calendar first. What I've done with Google Calendar is I spent, I think I'd say like half an hour setting up my recurring tasks. That's what I'm using Google Calendar for. Like, I don't task out absolutely everything and completely fill up my day, because if your job's anything like mine, there's just going to be stuff that comes up. Someone's going to ask you to do something that you weren't doing, and it's going to be a one-off task, and that's that. But you're always going to have those recurring tasks. Now, for me, I keep track of a bunch of things throughout my day. So, spent, like I said, like half an hour to an hour where I just sat down, organized everything out in Google Calendar. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Each thing I should be doing on those days, organized out with times. You can just click right on the day, set the time, set it to recur each week, and then you can kind of see everything laid out. Now, what's good about this is if you set up Google Calendar with Slack, something I've discussed in another video, you can have it send you little reminders in Slack. Like, our workspace uses Slack. I get a little ping saying, record a video. I'm doing it right now. Here we are. And I do that every week. So it's really useful. I don't have to think about it. At the top of the day, when I'm kind of, this is another quick tip. I like to have a little meeting in the morning, because my partner works from home as well. We have a little meeting in the morning before we start work. What are you doing today? What did you do yesterday? What are you doing over the whole week? What did you do last week? Good to do little recaps like that, like a little stand-up between each other, so you know what you're doing. I check my calendar in the morning, and I'm like, oh, I got this, I got this, and I got this, and I got this. That's what I'm doing today. Super useful Google Calendar for that, so I'd advise that. Now, ClickUp is a task tracking website, and there's a few out there, like there's MeisterTask, there's Trello. A lot of people use Trello. ClickUp, for me, was really useful for the very specific task I'm doing, and this might apply to you as well. So, one thing I wanted was something easy to use. Now, a lot of project management, task management sites can kind of look like I'm going to code some HTML sometimes. Absolutely no shade on them, but I don't get that. I just want something with checkboxes that's easy. So ClickUp's great on that front, but it does have depth that's easily integrated. So for me, I manage all the stuff about the XSplit blog in there, which if you go to xsplit.com/blog, there's a whole bunch of cool articles and stuff up on there, and I manage that and the publication of all the articles and stuff like that. So what's useful for me with ClickUp, not only can I put absolutely every bit of information I want to get in there, so who wrote the blog, the original text can be embedded directly in the task, the thumbnail image can be added as an attachment, I can add the due date, I can add when it's going to be posted, track everything about it. A really nice thing is that you can do tracking and reporting for other people. So if you're in charge of a task and you need to be able to show people, like, this is what I'm doing, and in my very specific case, this is when the work that I'm doing is scheduled to come out, like go live on the website, I can do a calendar view as well and just export that. Set it all up with the dates. Really useful for me because I know everything that should be coming out when, but also really useful for anyone else who wants to track what I'm doing. They can see a calendar view, they can see a task view. You can even get in it with ClickUp where it can do reports for you based on, like, if you have a team using it, which you can. I mean, for me, it's only like a couple of us in there because it's me and a few other people in the company that are using it. If you got your whole team in there, you can see how everyone's doing, you can see how much work everyone's doing, and you can actually produce reports. Super useful. And again, that probably took me like an hour to set up absolutely everything and put every task in there, but it automates so much stuff out of my brain, which is so useful. Like, turns out super useful if you do that, because I used to just try and store all this stuff in my head and be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and then you forget something. Not good. Automates everything, you don't have to worry about it. So top tips from me: organize your working from home. So finally, I've got a tip about making presentations easier and using the right software. So we have a bit of software called XSplit Presenter. It's kind of new, you might have heard of it, but it makes giving a presentation way easier. You can import your slides. I mean, you know me, I like Google Slides. You can import Google Slides right into it. You can add yourself as a camera. You can add live annotations and arrows and lines and all sorts of cool stuff to draw people's attention to what you're talking about. You can add videos, you can add websites, you can put yourself right in the presentation as a camera, so you haven't got to worry about, okay, so I'm sharing my screen, hold up, okay, can you see it? You haven't got to worry about that anymore. You ain't got to worry about sharing your screen at all. So you haven't got to worry about accidentally showing people anything. So privacy isn't a concern using XSplit Presenter. Definitely check it out. It's going to make giving presentations slicker. They're going to look more professional. They're going to be more interactive. And people are going to, more importantly, and to me, the most important thing that's going to save you a ton of time, you're going to get all the information across that you want to get across easier and faster. That's the dream of presentations, right? That's why we do them, so people learn. Get on that. Oh, also, when you import your camera, it's got our VCam technology, so you can blur out the background, so you can be in the presentation. That's cool with me. Anyway, there's also a privacy thing. Gets rid of the background, so, you know. Benefits all round. But yeah, what have you found working at home? What things have you found have made your life easier? What websites have you been using? What software have you been using? Let us know in the comments below. And as ever, thank you very much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, if you found it useful, Give it a like, share it with a friend, and be sure, as always, to subscribe to this channel because we've got a ton of videos coming out all the time about this kind of stuff. So keep it right here on XSplit. I'll see you very soon.